Hi everybody, I'm Mark, and this is my COVID hair. If it gets much longer, I'm going to look like B. Arthur. I want to welcome you to this showcase of the work of the students from NoHo Senior Arts Colony in my acting class. Over the past 4 months, we've been working on monologues and scenes, and also mining our own lives for some of the incredible stories that we all have to bring to the table. I want to thank Lisa Argenziano, who is the program director at NoHo and who has helped us so wonderfully get everybody connected. I hope that you enjoy these 4 episodes. Each one is about 30 minutes long. And tonight's has a very special title. It is called Swimsuits, Therapists, and Frogs. Enjoy.
Well, I had an adventure today. Went into town, thought I'd shake them up a little bit. So I tried to find me a topless bathing suit. Yes, I did. I went into a what's their name store and I went straight up to the swimwear, as they call it, to that department. And I got an 1890s school teacher type who wondered what she could do for me. And I felt like telling her, not much, sweetheart. But I said, hello there. I'm in the market for a topless swimsuit. A what, miss? She said, which I didn't know whether to take as a compliment or not. A topless swimsuit, I said. I don't know what you mean, she said, after a beat. Oh, certainly you do, I said. No top, stops at the waist. Latest thing, lots of freedom. Oh, yes, she said, looking at me like she was seeing the local madam for the first time. Those, then a real sniff. I'm afraid we don't carry those. Well, in that case, I told her, do you have any separates? Those we carry, she said. Those we do. And she started going under the counter, and I said, I'll buy the bottoms of one of those. She came up from under the counter, adjusted her spectacles, and she said, what did you say? I said, I'll buy the bottom of one of those. She thought for a minute, and then she said, with ice in her voice, and what will we do with these tops? Well, I said, why don't you save them? Maybe bottomless swimsuits will be in next year. Then the poor sweet thing gave me a look I couldn't tell was either a D- or she was going to send me home with a letter to my mother. And she said, sort of far away, I think you need to see the manager. And off she walked.
Well, here we are again. It's time, because the Jewish holidays were the happiest times in my younger years. I was just married, all was calm. I actually made the marriage scene. I was trying to be a good housewife. My mother was relieved and calm, less angry. She could now show off her culinary skills and become noticed by the family. The kitchen became her private territory. It was closed to everyone, except to my sister Edith. She was her favorite. Cooking was not Edith's happiest time, but neither was it mine. Cooking is not one of my favorites. It was not one of my mother's either. It could have become a favorite if she took me under her wing. She's not a bird. And showed an interest in teaching me. I might have enjoyed learning to cook if we had just improvised. I would have given myself a new name, the dancing cook. It might have worked. I doubt it. My mother was happy when she prepared her specialties from scratch: stuffed cabbage, chopped onions, dipped in chicken fat, blintzes, oh man, out of this world. Gefilte fish, made with a fresh fish live out of the bathtub and put to rest on our table. Otherwise, she was a failure in cooking healthy meals. She was wonderful with the holiday specialties, but totally unaware of how to cook an everyday edible meal. Shortly after the holidays, my husband Norman and I went out to dinner. A bottle of red liquid was placed on the table. My curiosity was heightened. What is that? With the strangest look, Norman replied, "What do you mean? It's ketchup." It was the beginning of our disagreements about cooking. I learned a lot of interesting things about food, like chicken also had white meat in my mother's house. I never saw it. All I was given were legs for dinner. My education about cooking and foods started there. We had arguments about my cooking. Norman was lucky that I didn't poison him. Should have. We were very different. Most couples argued about not getting enough sex. We argued about food. This had to end. This was it. My face was flushed. My language to him was what he deserved, but I calmly shouted, "I have a specialty that you never noticed. I can burn water."
So what's on your mind this week?
I don't know. Oh, I had that Catherine the Great dream again.
Yeah?
I don't know, maybe it wasn't Catherine the Great. Maybe more like National Velvet.
And what do you associate with National Velvet?
Oh, I don't know. Childhood?
Yes?
I guess I miss childhood, where one could look to a horse for emotional satisfaction rather than a person. I mean, a horse never disappointed me.
And you feel disappointed in people?
Well, every man I try to have a relationship with turns out to be crazy. And the ones that aren't crazy are dull. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm really looking for faults, so I won't even have to have a successful relationship. Like Michael last year. Maybe he was fine. I made up faults that he didn't even have. Maybe I do that to myself. What do you think?
What I think doesn't matter. What do you think?
But what do you think?
It's not my place to say.
Oh, never mind.
I see.
I did answer one of those ads.
Oh?
Yes,
Well, how did it work out?
very badly. The guy was a jerk. He talked about my breast. And he had a male lover, and he wept at the table. It was really ridiculous. I should have known better.
Well, you can always come back to me, baby. I'll light your fire anytime.
Stuart, I tell you, you can't talk to me like that if I'm to stay in therapy with you.
You're mighty attractive when you're angry.
Stuart, Dr. Framingham, many women have been seduced by their therapist, and they take them to court.
Yeah, but you wanted it, baby.
How could I have wanted it? One of our topics has been that I don't know what I want.
But you wanted that, baby.
Stop calling me baby. Really? I must be out of my mind to keep seeing you. Obviously, you can't be my therapist after we've had an affair.
2 lousy nights aren't an affair.
You never said they were lousy.
They were great. You were great. I was great. Wasn't I, baby? It was the fact that it was only 2 nights that was lousy.
Dr. Framingham, it's the common belief that it is wrong for therapists and their patients to have sex together.
Not in California.
We're not in
We
California.
could move there, buy a house, get a jacuzzi.
Stuart, Dr. Framingham, we're not right for one another. I feel you have masculinity problems. And I hate your belt buckle. I really didn't like you in bed.
I'm great in bed.
You have problems with premature ejaculation.
There's nothing premature about it. Our society is paced too quickly. We have a lot of things to do. I ejaculate quickly on purpose.
I don't believe you. Obviously, I need to find a new therapist.
Okay. I lost my temper. I'm sorry. But I'm human, Prudence. That's what you have to learn. People are human. You keep looking for perfection. You need to learn to accept imperfection. And I can help you with that.
Maybe I really should sue you. I mean, I don't think you should have a license.
Prudence, you're avoiding the issue. The issue is you, not me. You're unhappy. You can't find a relationship you like. You don't like your job. You don't like the world. You need my help. I mean, don't get hung up on who should have a license. The issue is I can help you fit into the world. I really, really can.
I don't think I believe you.
That's okay, we can work on that too.
I don't know. I really don't think you're a very good therapist. But the others are probably worse.
They are. They're much worse. Really, I'm very good because I like women. Most men don't.
I'm getting one of my headaches again.
Do you want me to massage your neck?
Oh, please don't touch me.
Okay, any other dreams?
No.
Perhaps we should analyze why you don't like the man you met through the personal ad.
I don't want to talk anymore. I want to go home.
You can never go home again.
Perhaps not. But I can return to my apartment. You're making my headache much worse.
I think we should finish this session. I think it's important.
I just can't talk anymore.
We don't have to talk, but we have to stay in this room.
Well, how much longer?
Oh, 30 minutes.
All right. But I'm not going to talk.
Okay. You're very beautiful when you're upset.
Please, don't you talk to me either.
My husband said I had to make an early bank deposit. At the time, I didn't drive. So I dressed my 2 older children, dressed the baby, and I gave them breakfast, and we started off for the bank. We had to stop at school first because I left the 2 big children at school, and the baby and I continued walking. We got to the bank and it was a little early. So there was a store right above the bank, and I decided I'll go and look in the window. As I'm walking up toward the store, a man comes out of the bank dressed beautifully, and he smiles at me, and he walks across Wilshire Boulevard against traffic. I didn't think anything of it. I walked back to the bank. The bank was still closed. I couldn't understand it. A woman came along and she said, "Let's check it." So we opened the door and nobody was inside. So the woman said to me, "Let's go in back." So she and I, there were 2 men there. They left. They didn't want anything to do with anything. They left. But the woman and I, see, that's how strong women are. The woman and I went back, and the bank employees were laying on the floor. The man I had just seen robbed the bank. So I made my deposit, and I went home. A couple of weeks later, my doorbell rings, and there's a man, he says he's from the FBI. He said, I had made my deposit, so they knew where I lived and who I was. So the FBI man came in, and he shows me a mock-up picture of the bank robber. And he said, "Do you know who this is?" And I said, "No." My son, the baby was not in school, but at the time, the Munsters was very popular on TV. And Herman had a flat head. Well, the mock-up picture had a man with a crew cut that was flat. And my little son looks at it and he said, "That's Herman." Well, the FBI man says, "Who's Herman? Who's Herman? Is that your uncle? Is that your mom's friend? Is that your daddy?" He didn't know who it was. And I said, "No, he watches the Munsters, and that's who he thinks it is." And I said, "Jeff, go play, go play." Got rid of him. The FBI man sat in my house for an hour, and he said he detected an accent. He said, "Where are you from?" I said, "Newark, New Jersey." He said, "Oh, I'm from New Jersey." I don't know if he was or not, but he wanted to stay and talk. And he would talk to me about New Jersey, and every once in a while he'd put in, "Who's Herman? Who's Herman?" He thought he would catch me. But I didn't know Herman. And he finally left.
That's right. I ate them. I ate the divorce papers, Charles. I ate them with ketchup. And they were good. So good. I suppose you want me to get serious about the divorce. The thing is, you always called our marriage a joke. So let's use logic here. If A, we never had a serious marriage, then B, we can't have a serious divorce. No, we can't. The whole thing's a farce, Charles. A farce that tastes good with ketchup. Wasn't it just last week your dad asked you the reason you walked down that aisle with me? And you said, for the exercise. You know, that's funny. You're a funny guy, Charles. I'm laughing, not crying. I'm laughing because you are about to give up on a woman who is infinitely lovable.
Okay, this is called the pufferfish dream. And in case you've never seen a pufferfish, the pufferfish is on the right and the COVID-19 virus is on the left. This was the dream. My boat got caught up in kelp. I jumped overboard to pull the kelp off the motor. Since I was wearing only a swimming suit, a life preserver, and rubber-soled shoes without socks, the kelp easily slimed my skin, but I was able to clean off the motor, get back in the boat, and head out to sea. I dangled my legs overboard into the salt water in order to loosen the kelp that had stuck to me. I had a towel to pat myself dry, but the breeze did the rest. It was the kind of stunning day that makes people come to California. I took off my life preserver. Then some large, ball-shaped pufferfish showed up. To look at them up close, I hurtled back into the water. A half dozen pufferfish turned into a dozen, then 20. They had mouths like piranhas. They started biting my legs. They pulled me down into the water so it was hard to get air. Suddenly, my old black lab jumped into the water. Zeke was my favorite of 7 dogs over my whole lifetime. He died over 20 years ago, but now Zeke could talk. He and I used to play a game. He sat up next to me on the couch, and looking at me, he made a brief guttural sound. I looked at him and would say, he then said, without breaking eye contact, he would continue. I would repeat his sound and the conversation would go on for 10 minutes or more. I know absolutely that he was talking to me. The problem was, of course, I never knew exactly what we were talking about. But now, in this dream, we could speak English and I could understand him. That was the good news. Then he finally gave up the bad news. You're not going to get out of this alive. After a pause, I said, I know, but it doesn't really matter. I've done everything on my list. Dozens of pufferfish pulled harder on my legs with their piranha mouths. I was in terrible pain. In my waking life, I am in serious pain with arthritis. The pain never really goes away. I couldn't breathe. Zeke pulled me up to the air above the water. I gulped the air but got a lot of water in my lungs and started coughing. Zeke began to pull me toward the beach. He said, "It is possible to die." About half of my body had disappeared into the mouths of those hungry pufferfish. I was in excruciating pain. Then Zeke and I were on the sand, but he said, "Okay, we're out of the water, but I think it's too late for you. Your injuries are too grave." Then my legs and body miraculously restored. Zeke and I were walking west down Melrose Avenue on a busy shopping day, with all of the people dressed in the trends that will hit other places next year, if ever. They carried bags of new, overpriced clothes in shopping bags with narrow handles. The handles made creases in their tattooed arms, so they kept shifting the bags around. The shops were beautifully designed in the latest styles. Finally, I noticed that people could walk right through the dog and me as if we were not there, or as if we had no substance. It was disturbing. I was glad when we turned a corner and were instantly on the beach in Santa Monica. The merry-go-round and pier were in the background. The air had that washed-out, pale feel that happens at the beach. The sky began to turn dark as if a storm might come in off the Pacific. Zeke said, "But you know how it is in LA. It won't rain for weeks." We laughed. I looked down, walking on the sand. Something was not right with the way my bare feet felt on the sand. This far from the surf, the sand should have been scorching hot on my toes, but I was feeling nothing. Then I noticed that Zeke and I were making no footprints. I panicked. What could it mean that we had no substance and felt nothing underfoot? I woke up shaking and could not go back to sleep.
It was a pleasant fall a number of years ago when I arrived in Dangamvora in southern Africa to visit our sisters there. It was about 8 p.m. when I reached the convent. The sisters, only one of whom I had met before, welcomed me and brought me to my bedroom around 9 o'clock and also pointed out the bathroom. It was located near my room off a spacious patio. I was exhausted after traveling most of the day from Mozambique, so I fell quickly asleep. At around 2:30 a.m., I got up to go to the bathroom. It had reasonably modern fixtures, toilet, sink, bathtub, but when I pulled down my PJ bottoms and sat on the toilet, I was met with a series of wet surprises. Something ominous, slimy, and seemingly large was hitting my rear end. I jumped off the toilet, convinced that there was a black mamba in the tank and that I faced imminent death. I pulled up my PJs and ran from the bathroom. I think I might have even been yelling. And what I found outside the door were 6 sisters laughing their heads off. I think I was still shaking when I asked them what I had encountered in the John. They responded, "Gretchen, oh, just frogs. They love that cool environment." And I said, "The heat has definitely sickened your brains." And they answered, "No, just cheap thrills. It's all we get out here in the middle of nowhere." Later that morning at breakfast, as apparently was their practice, they conferred on me my new title, Sister Mary Froggy Bottom.